corruption. And
so you mentioned this species, an additional species of humans, or
no, they're not humans.
Many of these super elite organizations that operate in secrecy. So I know I've named a few already, but if you could help us elaborate on these points, who are the people pulling the strings?
Well, do you remember when there were ghettos and you had something called a Judenrat that were the ones that would draw up the lists of the Jews that were going to get exported the next day? Do you remember how that system worked?
Well, it was a little before my time, but history would dictate what happened in those ghettos. So elaborate, please.
These were traitors to their people who were helping because they thought they were going to save themselves. That's maybe why they did that, but it doesn't matter what their motives were. They were doing the work against their people. Now, think of this as an elaboration on a larger scale, and what we're dealing with actually is humanity and the elite, the secret societies, the Vatican. They're traitors to humanity, because the one at the very core that's pulling the strings is a different species. They're not the human race. They're called Homo capensis. They have been on Earth together with humanity for before this ice age.
So you mentioned this species, an additional species of humans, or
no, they're not humans. They are so distinct from humans that if they were to mate with humans, their offspring would not be fertile.
Are you speaking of the biblical Nephilim is an entity that people have discussed and tried to understand for millennia, and that is the race of offspring of humans and the fallen angels from.
No, these are not angels. These are not spiritual.
Well, the Nephilim themselves were the offspring of the fallen angels and humanity. Is this the same
They are
species?
not fallen angels. They are critters. People who I am getting emails from saw them the day before. They look just like human beings, except they have these big skulls. And that is why in the Vatican, you see these crazy meters, is what they're called.
So you're saying that this specific species of individuals is occupying the Vatican and functioning through the Jesuit order?
Yes, but they're also working in the banks in Portugal, because one of the people who saw this, in Saturday Night Live, there was a broadcast of something called the Coneheads. So that's a slang word for them. Although my mother refers to them as the boneheads. But they're alive and running around and doing all kinds of mischief.
Now, some people might find the information that you're presenting right now to be completely, some people might say it's completely crazy. What do you say to those people who are watching this right now going, I don't believe a word of it?
I would say you need to read the articles that Ed Spencer has sent me. You need to look at the skulls in the museums. You need to read the DNA studies. And you need also to think about what kind of motive the human beings might have for being traitors to their species. Why would they do this? Why would we have a banking system where all the money ends up going to the Vatican and people run around starving?
If you look at the picture of Akhenaten and his daughters, the pharaohs, they had these huge headdresses. That was to hide their large skulls. They're hominids. They're not human beings. They're very, very smart. They're not creative. They're mathematical. And they had a much stronger force in the earlier ice age. there are a lot of museums that have skulls of these, some people call them coneheads by slang. Some people say it's more than one species. It's pretty clear that that group is not able to, they may produce offspring in mating with female humans, but that offspring is not fertile, or we would see more of these hominids. And they have been, making themselves scarce. But when Edward was giving me all this information, I shared it with a man in Portugal who went and had a meeting with a bank, and he sent us an email the next day and said that there was a big skull person with bright blue eyes at the meeting of that bank. This person, the bank had made some improper loans to his father, and so he was meeting with the bank about those improper loans.
Well, interesting. That takes things in a bit of a different direction. So you're basically saying that these beings, whatever they really are then, maybe not human hominids, we've talked about elongated skulls and other oddities before on the program, so we're familiar with it in that regard, but you're basically saying that that's the power behind the throne in this case.
What you have is a world in which there are secret societies and secrets, and the news and the information that ought to be public is not public. That group that I was telling you about, the Jesuits, and behind them this group called Capensis, Homo Capensis, or coneheads as some people call them, they were trying to steal the world's gold.
So it goes back to Yamashita's gold, this whole story.
No. Yes, that's part of it. It starts off with Solomon, and then you get the Aztecs and the Incas and the Pharaoh's gold, and you then get all of the gold that Yamashita had. It's more gold than you know about. The world is incredibly wealthy.